What is up, everyone, and welcome to episode 57 of Pull Up with Miles and Owen. Today, we welcome back to the show someone who guested on the fourth ever episode of this program. Now we're here 50 something episodes later. She is a co host of the Full Circle podcast alongside Mariah Rose, which is exceptional. You guys got to check it out. Available wherever you get your podcasts. She is an alum of the current ACC champion, Duke Blue Devils. Let's go. Shout out to Kara Lawson,
Oh,
Athletes Unlimited legend, and WNBA champion Lexie Brown. Thank you so much. Welcome back. How's it going?
that was a nice intro. I appreciate that. That might have been one of the
Absolutely.
best ones I've ever had. Not gonna lie. I'm happy to be back. This is fun.
We had to start with Athletes Unlimited because that just finished up and you finished seventh in the standings there. Top 10 finish. I know that was a big deal for you. And I'm just kind of getting through that season. You've talked about how that was really important to you. Maddie Segrist was our last guest on the pod. Just how did you experience the settling into Nashville, but also just what year four of Athletes Unlimited was?
Yeah, Nashville was amazing. They were so excited for us to be there. The city was fun. It was a little cold, which I wasn't expecting. There was snow, and I was like, "Oh, okay, Nashville, you guys snow." But we had a great time. The fans were amazing, and for me, this season was just about me feeling like myself again. And last season, I was almost there, but I kind of like crashed out at the end of the season. I couldn't really, my body couldn't really handle the wear and tear of that, 3 game a week schedule. But it's exactly what I needed to see, like where I was physically. And then this year, it felt like a breeze to me. And for someone that has been dealing with what I've been dealing with the last 2 years, like it was just the most like relieved feeling. Like I was just like, okay, like I'm back. My body feels good. These games are not taking me out. I can log heavy minutes. I can play at a high level again. I can do my extra workouts. So I felt really good. I mean, the top 10 finish obviously was a goal of mine, but the ultimate goal was to finish the entire season, play every single game, and play the best of my ability, and I was able to do that.
So happy to hear that. And we came down to Nashville for the final week, and that was so apparent and evident, just the joy you were playing with.
Yeah.
Uh, It also was very palpable, like that AU seems to have found a bit of a home in Nashville. There's so much good basketball energy there, and then just the city as a whole. So you already spoke on it a little bit, but like, what were your impressions of just the vibes of getting to spend a few months down there?
Yeah, so we actually went, the PEC, we went to Nashville at the end of October just to like go around the community a little bit, meet some people in the city, meet some, season ticket holders and things like that. And we felt the love like in October, and they were so excited for us to get there. We had a blast. We were there for I think 2 days, I think, and we just felt the love and we were so excited to get there. But a few months we got to spend in Nashville were great. We'd had like some really fun outings. People like got to make little cowboy hats. The fans were great. We got to have such amazing interactions with a lot of fans after the game. We did the autograph lines. And yeah, like we had billboards in the city. Like it was really cool to like feel like this was our city, our home. We're the only professional women's sport or basketball team there. They put the bid in for the WNBA team right before we got there. So I'm like, the timing of that was amazing. So there's just like a lot of buzz and excitement around women's basketball in Nashville, and I'm glad that we got to, get there first.
The billboards were so cool when we were in the Uber from the airport. We were like geeking out in the car, like, hey.
Out of the buildings, like the signage was amazing. The, media coverage was amazing. Locally, we had a lot of consistency as far as people showing up for us. And I think, as amazing as Dallas was, we just kind of got lost and, Dallas being just a huge city with so much going on, so many other sports teams and things like that. And honestly, we were a little nervous about possibly playing in a non-WNBA city, but it actually, turned out to be incredible. We've probably got some new WNBA fans. We have Vanderbilt right next door, Tennessee a few hours away. So we were able to attract a lot of those college fans as well.
Being on the executive committee, you always have the big picture in mind. And something that we're big proponents of here is that, like, not pitting Unrivaled and Athletes Unlimited against each other, the fact that there can be space for both, and you've kind of spoken to that as well. What excites you about where we're at in the WNBA offseason from a perspective of the number of opportunities that are growing for players stateside?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is that we're visible more than we've ever been in the off season. And I think that's always been a missing piece of the WNBA taking that next level is that we have our season, we have this amazing season, and then everybody like jets off to Europe or China or Australia for 6 months. And then you kind of like are starting at zero again every year, trying to ramp up the energy, ramp up the storylines and the relationships and the drama and all that kind of stuff. You like have to start over every year. And I feel like with more of us being stateside, it could just continue from, our season and then playoffs, finals, and then you have a little bit of a break. And we have Unrivaled AU and then free agency, you have the draft. So I feel like now it's all kind of like working together for people to support us in different ways, getting to know us in different ways. And again, I was talking to the guys about it on Gills, like as amazing as Unrivaled and AU are, that's still only 60 something spots of stateside basketball. So, we still have a lot of work to do to provide more opportunities for more W players to be able to stay home. But I think Unrivaled was amazing. I think what we've been doing with AU the last few years has been amazing. And I'm just glad that I get to stay home and people are, getting to experience other off-court opportunities that they typically wouldn't be able to do because we would be playing overseas or no one would even know where we're at, what we're doing. So it's been fun. It was really fun to watch. I mean, I'm glad that they had such a successful season. When the more successful they are, the more pressure puts on us to be successful. It is probably a little bit of a healthy competition business wise, but for the overall goal of what we want to do for women's basketball, I think it's been amazing.
Something that you had said when you were on with us a couple of years back that I've retold in some of our conversations is you also just talked about how important it was to have a consistent run with professionals. I think you said like you don't want to go to LA Fitness where like all these dudes are trying to prove something because you
No.
are a professional. You're a professional. So like this just makes that opportunity for so many players to be able to play. But I was listening to a couple of episodes of your pod the last couple of days too, and the one with Elizabeth Williams, where you do talk about some of the big picture CBA conversations, is really fascinating too, because it's such a weird, not weird, but it's an interesting inflection point as the league is continuing to grow. And I know that you can't talk too much about the meeting that you guys had in Nashville or about
Yeah.
where things go because it's an active negotiation. But when we're seeing kind of the through line, we're seeing, like you said, the season now goes into stateside basketball here. I think the W in the last few years has been more cohesive in terms of connecting with college too and telling those
Yeah.
stories, or having you guys on ESPN plus on the app and on ESPN Plus and things like that. WNBL being on the League Pass app as well. How have you seen that growth, and how can you take that into CBA negotiations and just say, we are proof positive that this is growing, that this is working in terms of a holistic just gain
Right.
for women's basketball?
And I think that's like the key is how like authentic the growth has been. I feel like we're looking back at the players that played behind us. I'm with Cheryl Swoops all the time. I would never in a million years would have thought that I would be spending an extended period of time with Cheryl Swoops during my career. But here I am, like me and Cheryl are extremely close now. And just getting her insight on what, they had to deal with. And, even in these meetings, we're talking about how we can give back to them and take care of them a little bit better than the CBA before them. And at the end of the day, like we want to lay the foundation so that the future players, they're looking at the WNBA, they're looking at AU, they're looking at Unrivaled, and they're like, that's something that I want to do. And they're doing that at a very young age. And I think, I kind of got some backlash for it. I said it that like I didn't grow up seeing, women athletes doing things that I wanted to do. I didn't see them commentating NBA games. I didn't see them, on ESPN every day. I didn't see them having podcasts because they didn't exist yet. So it's like when I say things like that, there's a little girl everywhere, all over the world that is looking for somebody to look up to. And I think women's sports is such an amazing place, an amazing landscape to have so many different examples of so many different types of people you can be in this world. So I think that the cohesiveness of all of our leagues, overseas leagues, WBA, da 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 da. Everything is like so important. And again, like this whole women's empowerment movement, like it's very important. And I feel like athletes are like front and center of that because it's so easy for us to show support for each other and also be healthy competitors. But at the end of the day, we all want to win and we all want to make this, a better league for everybody.
Absolutely. And you are a huge part of that in terms of taking on leadership roles, whether it's at Athletes Unlimited or in the WNBA. And you've talked about how you were a young player when the last CBA was signed. What
Yeah.
kind of encouraged you to take more of a step forward and to engage more because you have a seat at the table, you have a voice in that room for what this is going to be when you're talking about building out what the next generation is going to see from women's basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I told Elizabeth on our show, like, how in awe impressed I was with what they were able to do for that bubble season. They gave us, tidbits of all the work that put in, but I think they were just simply scratching the surface of how much time and energy went into doing that. So since that moment, I was like, I want to be able to be part of something amazing like that. And then personally, when I got waves from the Lynx and then ultimately from the Sky, I kind of looked through our CBA and I was just kind of like, why is this happening to me? And why have they been able to just tell me one thing, do something differently, and then say it was because of something else, but it all technically was within the CBA framework. And I feel like even a lot of other players in my position, which you would consider like mid level role players, glue players, like that's where I would consider myself as far as my career has shown. I think my play exceeds that, but as of right now, like those are the roles that I've been given in my career. I feel like with our last CBA, some of us got pushed out of the league. They looked out for the one percenters. We looked out a little bit more for the rookies and making sure that they were good. And this little in between mid-level veteran kind of got left out to dry. And you don't know that's going to happen until it happens. So when I started seeing that happening, seeing players that I know who are extremely talented get cut because their number didn't fit under the salary cap, I was just kind of like, I think we need to figure this out and figure out this salary cap situation. Obviously, we want more money, but there's so many other things that go into that and so many other things that we're negotiating for. And I just wanted to learn. I love to learn. I love to have a lot of information, and I want to be able to, like I said, make this league better than when I found it. So that was really the reason why I wanted to get involved.
That's so cool too, because I feel like the ambiguity is kind of by design. And like the more people actually like dig into the weeds and then get to hear your perspective, your story, like what you learned through doing all that research can just only have such a massive impact
Yeah.
for everyone who follows. Um, we wanted to pivot a little bit because so excited to talk about the podcast. And I've been following Mariah for a long time on social media,
Great.
and it just
Yeah.
felt like such a perfect match. Like just really fun energy. I think like one of our main goals with this podcast and just in my writing is like never be boring. There's so much just boring, dry sports content. And you guys, it feels like you guys are so versatile where it's like, all right, you guys can talk X's and O's and like real basketball stuff, big picture stuff, but also kind of the fun stuff that just makes basketball so great.
Yeah.
So I'd just love to hear from your perspective, like taking us through how this show came about and how fun the chemistry's been when you guys are recording.
Yeah, so me and Mariah actually connected through TikTok, and we connected on TikTok because if y'all remember my little 2K my player debacle,
Yep.
right? So when I posted that video on TikTok and it went viral essentially, and everyone was like, "You're a girl, you don't deserve a nice picture," and da da da. And Mariah, she does her little videos, and she like basically was like, if she wants a ponytail on her 2K player, then she should get a ponytail. If she wants lashes on her 2K, she should be able to da da da. So she basically was like, y'all are tripping. Like it's just a video game, but like if she wants to look like herself, she should be able to look like herself. So I saw it and then I like messaged her or I followed her, I messaged her and I was like, oh, thanks, girl. Like I really appreciate that. And then we just stayed in touch after that. So that was 2 years ago, I think. Last year, she had me on her podcast, her Hoops for Hotties podcast. And it was like a really good vibe, great energy. We had a lot of fun. I think that was last year, I would want to say. And then Sue Bird actually reached out to me with the podcast opportunity, which I thought was amazing. And I was like, I didn't even know Sue Bird was watching me outside of basketball. So it meant the world to me that she reached out and she was like, you would just be a really, fun and positive and good voice for women's basketball. So that was last January, I want to say. And yeah, so then I hit up Mariah and I was I need like I need someone that can say things that I can't say, but people know that I want to say it. So it's like she brings that like spiciness that I can bring in spurts. She doesn't know too much of the X and O's analytic part about basketball, so that's where I'll come in and probably take the lead on most of those conversations. But with her journalism background, she's like so amazing at navigating conversations, segueing conversations. The guests that we've had so far have been amazing. She's been great. And she's just such a dope person. And she's only 24 years old. And like she has such a bright future. So I'm glad I snatched her up before she blew up crazy because I know she is. She already is. What she's done for herself on her platform has been so amazing. And I am huge, like, we need like more women to like tap into women's basketball and women's sports, whether they're watching the games or watching us or like want to have, businesses or clothing, like whatever. Like I feel like we just need more women to tap in. And like that's basically Mariah's whole mission statement is getting the girls involved. So I thought that we were like the perfect match. And it's been a lot of fun. And I don't know if y'all can tell our episodes, we don't plan them. We like go with the flow completely. We might have like a little document that we go by, but we just link up once a week and like just have our little girl time. And it's been like really fun.
It rings through that you guys are friends that really vibe with each other because the conversations are just so organic. And I think, like you said, there's just a complementary aspect to it with your differing backgrounds, but because you're both doing so many things in your individual
Yeah.
life. So I think that that comes together and just brings such interesting perspective. And my favorite episode so far, I think, was the one that you might have been hungover for the day after AU
After
finished.
that,
But it was the whole conversation was about the landscape of WNBA coverage. And you really covered so much ground there from because that was the time where it was the on the NBA side, the LeBron Anthony Edwards conversation about being the face. And you took it to a really interesting direction that wasn't just about how media portrays that they don't seem to love basketball, so why would fans? But also just like some of this lack of empathy that exists because of this online, this take culture, this click culture. And I guess I just couldn't pass up the opportunity as someone in media the a line that you said that stuck with me is that you said to Mariah that you guys might have to be the narrative starters, and that's because you don't trust other people to validate or to honestly share your stories without having some kind of an agenda. So
right.
this is more kind of an open-ended question, but like we try to approach this with an intentionality to elevate and to be positive because we know there are enough people out there who are doing the opposite. But what does growth in coverage on the W side look like to you? And knowing that we're coming from the independent side, it's not the same as ESPN
Yeah.
and something like that, but just in general.
I mean, I will say like you guys since the beginning have always been like one of the more positive and uplifting. You guys know what you're talking about and you're very objective. So I've always really appreciated what you guys bring to the table. And in that you guys probably don't get the clicks and views and craziness that some of the other platforms get because they spew hate and weird things and start weird conversations. Um, I just think that we're like in a very interesting point, like you said, an interesting inflection point in women's basketball right now, where there's now a lot of people tapped in that don't know anything about the history of the WNBA, the history of women's college. And I think that's where I got a lot of flack in the last year is y'all are not gonna sit here and talk about this new age and new generation of hoopers while actively disrespecting all the players and amazing athletes that have come before us. Like you're not going to do that. because you guys don't, only because y'all don't know. Or some of them do know and they don't care, but I honestly can't tell the difference. So I think that's always been my stance on it is we're not going to act like we haven't seen a force in women's college basketball. We watched Breanna Stewart win 4 national championships in a row. Like we watched Elena Delanon bring Delaware to the Sweet 16 after taking a year off to play volleyball. Like what do we watched Maya Moore? Like what are we talking about? So that is where I've always been with it is like there is a way to uplift and talk about and praise who's playing now and who's going to play in the future without like disrespecting anybody in the past or any of the older players that are still currently playing. And I feel like for me and Mariah, like that's what we wanted to do is like you don't have to shit on players to uplift other ones and vice versa. Like just tell me why you love this player. Don't tell me why you hate this player. Just tell me why you love this one. I'll tell you why I love this one, and then we can have like a nice little conversation about it. But that doesn't mean that we're not open to criticism, we're not open to critique, but don't attack our character, don't attack our personalities. Like if someone shot 2 for 10 from the floor, okay, they shot 2 for 10 from the floor. They are not now the worst player to put on a WNBA jersey because one game they went 2 for 10. But if they are the best player on that team, it should be addressed that they went 2 for 10. Like it's a fact, but there's a way to objectively talk about these things. So I'm excited to see what this podcast looks like in season because it's never been done before. And y'all know me, good, bad, and the ugly. I'm gonna tell it, like especially for myself. So I think, I haven't really had anybody tell my story the way I want it to be told until recently. I feel like at Athletes Unlimited, they've done it the best. And they do that with all of our players. So it's like, it wasn't just for me. They tell everybody's story in such a beautiful way and such a unique way to every player. So I'm excited to, yeah, when I say narrative starters, yeah, I'm gonna start my own narrative. Like we gonna start the Lexie three-point contest campaign day one. We're starting that. Like we're gonna do it all. I'm throwing narratives left and right. Very pro Lexi narratives over here.
We need that. We'll pick up that narrative as well. It needs to happen in All Star. Following up on that, I mean, I think like that's one of the coolest parts of kind of these times right now, and it's like the flip side of all the nastiness that we see on Twitter and what you're talking about the personal attacks. Everything gets so personal when
Yeah.
it shouldn't be. But the flip side is that you're seeing players be able to share their stories through their own platforms, and it's so cool. So how excited are you to do that in the season? And like you spoke about how sometimes like you're keeping it real, but sometimes Mariah has to, give the spice
Yeah,
because you can't totally go into
exactly.
something. How are
Right.
you approaching and navigating that? Because that's tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm gonna keep it like very objective. I'm gonna talk about myself, my experience. I'm probably gonna have a conversation with my new teammates about it because I'm gonna be like, okay, like I have this show, so like I'm not gonna say our business or like whether good or bad. Like I'm not gonna tell anybody's business or anything like that, but like people are gonna know like what's going on here, and I think we can make it fun. And a good way for people to tap into like what we have going on as a team. Um, I covered I did YouTube videos in the bubble. So I know how to, talk about things and like my teammates are in it, I had the coaches in it, I had people from other teams in it. Like to this day, I still don't know why that didn't pop off because it was so fun and it was funny. And we were in a freaking bubble. And I was like, why don't more people want to know what we got going on in here? But I don't think I did a good job personally, like putting it out there that I was doing this blog. It really was a way for me to have, like, I was so bored in there. So that pretty much is why I did that. So I've been able to do things like that before. I did it during my rookie season. I had YouTube videos. So I think the biggest thing will just be once I get everybody like on the team and the organization like comfortable with it and know that I'm not on here. I don't do hot takes. I'm not here to make anybody mad. I'm not here to start no beef. Like I just love talking about basketball. So I got a mic to do it now on iHeart. So nothing like I don't change who I am or my personality or anything when I'm on the pod versus when I'm off the pod. So I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a learning experience for sure. And yeah, I mean, they're just basically going to be like little weekly recap updates, things going around the league, things going on with the Storm. So I'm really excited because, like I said, like no one has done this before. So it's going to be fun.
We're a very anti hot take podcast, so I absolutely love to hear
John is like, what do we need a hot take for?
that.
Like,
Right?
what is it for? Because you guys
Everything,
see people argue. I don't
literally.
thrive in negativity. Like, I do not at all. So I don't want, like, even sometime, like today, we posted a video when we were talking about Bronny and just the comments. I'm just like, this is, I hate, like, I just see comments. It's like comments like this long talking about LeBron and Bronny. I'm like, you guys don't know either one of them to even have an opinion. And if it's not positive, then what, like, you guys are really wasting your time fighting with complete strangers about why you don't think Bronny should be the NBA. Like, what do we, I don't like that. And then even on our last episode, when I said TCU gonna go to the Final Four, like, I don't, that's not a hot take. They're a 2 seed. That's not a hot take at all. But some people are like, no, there's no way. But I'm like, it is a very logical guess that TCU could get to the Final Four. They're at a 2 seed for sure. So yeah, you guys don't do hot takes. I appreciate that because I think they're dumb. And I know y'all think they're dumb.
Yep.
Everything's too hot as it is right now. We need to
Exactly.
chill out.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Bronny, who on the day we're recording this last night, 17 points, good efficiency. So like that's the way to,
Bronny,
yeah.
always rooting for Bronny, man. I've since day one, I've been rooting for Bronny.
I love that. Well, we want to we've done a lot of big picture stuff. So before we get you out of here, and in full like podcast transparency here, we're recording this on Friday. It's not going to be out till next week. The Sweet 16 will be set.
Oh God.
And Lexie is joining us while the Duke men are playing currently. So we so greatly appreciate this. We know the timing isn't ideal, but we wanted to kind of touch on a few fun things here before we get you out of here, starting with Duke being ACC champions. I had so much fun watching that team during the conference tournament. Kara Lawson, what she's done is incredible. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on this squad and what they've accomplished?
they're such a fun team. I got to go see them play in Vegas. I think it was December. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was a few months ago. But I got to like meet some of them. We got to go in the locker room after the game. Kara was like, gave like a post-game speech like they just won the national championship. And I was like, Kara, can I come back? I'm ready to suit up right now. Like the way she speaks so much life into them in a win and a loss. It's very consistent. I remember when she first got there, her little motivational speeches were like going viral every week because the things that she say are so compelling. And I'm like, are we going to war? Are we going to practice? Like, I don't know, but I'm ready for both listening to Kara. So just seeing what she's been able to build, she got there. Duke was kind of in like a weird place, kind of like in a transitional period. So I think that, we gave her a lot of grace and she had patience and she had grace for herself and for these new players that she brought in. Got some transfer kids in, some stellar freshmen are there. They're just like a very well balanced team. And I really enjoyed watching them and they play defense, which I love. And for a little bit, they would concern me with their lack of scoring, but I feel like they figured that out. And now they have like a very good balance of defense and offense. So them winning the ACC tournament, like that was so exciting, especially beating Notre Dame because when I was at Duke, I could not beat Notre Dame to save my life. So I'm just really excited for them and really happy for them. And yeah, I think it's a matter of time that Duke is back on top. So the world is right again.
The depth on that roster, I feel like, is such a big part of it too, and that just shows, especially at the collegiate level in this NIL era, just the buy-in from players, because that means a lot of people are choosing to go there knowing that the rotations are going to be deep, that they might not get the 20 touches a game that they need to build a W stock, but that they're really investing in knowing that Kara's making them pro ready. And I
Yeah.
think that that's when you talk about that balance of offense and defense. They could throw different looks at you in a way that before her tenure, but also in the early years, you could see that it was building, and now
Yeah.
it feels like they've gotten to this point, this juncture, and obviously still have a little bit to go. Hopefully, by the time this recording comes out, still.
Mean, it's fun watching Duke play man to man. You know, we chilled in that little 1-2-2 zone for years. So I was just, I mean, as much as I love that zone, hey, that zone got me Defensive Player of the Year. I miss playing man to man. So I really enjoy watching them lock up. You know, they're so versatile. They switch a lot. They have so many players that can defend multiple positions. Like they're very high level, very high IQ. And I got them winning the tournament. So
Come on.
Love it. I love it. No hot takes in here though. But I was
I think, but Duke is winning the national boys and girls. Oh, that
yep.
see there. There's the hot. There's my one.
Get a gambling sponsor and just parlay them together. But Lexie's pick for the for both tournaments. I was gonna pivot us and call an audible because I had Final Four predictions on the sheet, but instead of that, instead of going a take, what is just a matchup between a couple of players that you have enjoyed watching at the collegiate level that you're hoping to be able to see during this tournament?
Let me. Um, I don't know if I can pinpoint specific matchups because I obviously I can't
Yeah, the
visit
brackets, but two
the bracket right
players. Yeah.
now. I mean, I really love that Juju Page matchup last year that we got to see. Um, I really love watching Georgia Amore play. She had a great game this afternoon, morning, whenever they played. Um, I think that Anissa Morrow needs to have a little bit more shine. I feel like she's had an incredible season at LSU going into her senior year. I mean, she's about to get drafted, so I'm really excited for her to, have her last hurrah in March. Um, and then, yeah, my Haley Van Lith campaign continues, her redemption campaign. I've been really happy to see her find her joy again, find her footing again. Um, After what like people kind of dragged last season, it wasn't a horrible season, but it wasn't a Haley Van Lith type season. But it wasn't bad by any means. It just wasn't what any of us were used to seeing her do, and she just probably underachieved in her mind as well because no, we all know how she is. So her being able to turn that program around and win championships in year one, I love that. And then I gotta give a shout out to my Vanderbilt girls,
Yes.
Camille and Michaela, and they
Oh,
came on my podcast when we were in Nashville, and they were amazing. And I'm only gonna cheer for them today because then in a few days they'll be playing Duke, hopefully. So I'll show them love right now, and then that's where it ends. But there's so much talent in women's basketball, and this is such a wide open tournament, I think. A lot of parity. And I'm excited. I mean, even today's games, like these probably are the best first round games I've seen in a long time. Like,
Mhm.
you know how they can be at times. Like they can be nasty.
Yeah.
So um they've been like very competitive and they've been fun to watch. So I'm excited, especially for second weekend. Second weekend is where things turn up. So yeah, it's
yep.
gonna be fun.
We blame Michigan and Iowa State for completely ruining our podcast prep today because it's just like how am I supposed to focus on prepping for the podcast when that game was so good?
Well, did you guys see Kentucky,
Yeah.
the Liberty almost come
Liberty
back?
almost. Yeah.
I like turned that game off. So I was like, oh, they're good. And then
Yeah,
I got a little notification that they only won by one. I was like, see, March. Love
March.
it's
March
March.
Madness. Love it.
Vandy Duke might be my favorite potential matchup on the board. Like Michaela's unreal, Iona Moore, that whole team is so fun, and then Duke as we've discussed, like
Yeah.
that needs to happen. We need it.
Yeah.
All right, a few rapid fire to close us out here. Just super quick. I saw you tweeted that you started Severance. Is that correct? And like, if so, yeah,
Favorite.
thoughts. So what are your TV thoughts here? TV
I'm
critic.
like, is it I'm assuming you guys watch Severance, so you guys
Yeah.
can tell me. Is it like a slow burner? Like, is there like I have to get to like episode like 4 or 5 to be like, okay,
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
how
okay.
I felt. Yeah.
Episode 3, I laughed so hard when she threw the thing at him at the table. When she like, I laughed so hard at that. The concept of it is insane. So I'm here for that. It's very futuristic Black Mirror, which I love and also terrifies me. But I'm tapped into Severance. I watched Paradise real quick.
That was so good.
Um,
So
watched that
good.
in like a few days, so now I'm back to Severance. So I'm giving it a chance, but I've fallen asleep a few times. So,
Yeah, Owen and I were in different spots there where it took me a couple of watches to get into it. But I will say, last season of episode one was one of the best episode.
oh yeah,
Last episode of
they
season one was one of the
Twitter
best
and just
episodes I've ever
raving
seen. Yeah,
about it. So like, let me go see what they talk about. Apple got some gems over there.
they really
So
do. They
yeah.
really do. Next one I was gonna jump to was I'm stealing this. I saw the other day somebody asked KD about what his favorite throwback jerseys were, and he gave a Mount Rushmore of four jerseys. So either W or NBA or college. What are four jerseys that throwbacks that you just love?
Um, my favorite NBA throwback is the Raptors one with the Raptor on it.
Iconic.
The Vince, the purple or the black or which one?
I like the purple one.
Yeah.
But I think it has like black pinstripes
Hmm.
and red dinosaur.
Yep.
Okay, that. Um, Orlando Miracle, favorite WNBA throwback jersey.
Yes.
Um, I still have one. It doesn't really fit me anymore. I have Pee Wee Johnson one at my parents' house. Um, let's see. Favorite, I'll do one more. I think the Charlotte Sting had cool jerseys. I think
Mhm.
they had really cool jerseys. And then my last NBA throwback is probably the Grizzlies Vancouver ones.
Yep.
Yep. Those were both on our list. Those were,
With
yeah.
the animals, the big old animals on it.
We need to have
So
fun with jerseys again. I feel like that's something, this minimalist
No.
stuff is just like, it
Guys,
looks
I know
clean.
y'all remember when they made all of us have the same jerseys.
Yep.
awful.
I was so happy when they gave everybody their own jerseys again.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was that?
And it
And
was
then
like 80% sponsored too. And then it was like the
yes,
name
it's
in
like the
tiny
big
print. Yeah.
sponsorship, and it was like
Yeah.
Connecticut. I was like, that was my first season. I was like, what are these jerseys? These are horrible. And then they didn't even have white ones. They like took the white jerseys away. So I'm so glad that we all have our own uniforms now because that like makes that's like a big deal. Like I
Totally.
didn't realize how weird it was that we did that until we went back to regular jerseys, and I was like, yeah, why did we do that? Like,
And the old WNBA art is so good too. Like those
Yes.
old jerseys are incredible. So yeah, I'm,
yeah,
I'm happy it's coming back.
yeah, me too.
All right, final
Wait,
question
what team has the best jerseys?
Right
right
now.
now.
Hmm.
Oh,
So I don't want to get a reaction here, but I do love that the purple alternate Sparks jersey. I really think that that was just so clean and kind of had some of the throwback vibes.
Yeah,
And it was just efficient. And we're here in New York, so I do like the seafoam. I like bright colors. So
yeah.
those are the first two that pop out to me, come to mind for me.
I like the Aces just like the black one. I think that's the classic.
The opposite, the exact opposite of what I said.
Yeah, which is classic.
Black and dark colors. I did love the Sparks jerseys. I really love the Dream jerseys that have the pink in it.
Hmm.
Yep.
Um, who else? And I liked Vegas's red jersey. I thought those
Yeah.
were
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, those are good too.
Yeah, there's like there's I'm not on the team anymore, but there's like just something so iconic about Sparks, Lakers colors.
Those
Like
colors, yeah.
just it is what it is. Like
Yeah. I, I I know. I was like for a second, I was like, I thought you might do a Celtics for the throwback question, but it's like their jerseys are
they
so
don't have
classic.
they don't
There's
have
no throwback.
They're very consistent since the beginning of time. Right.
Exactly.
We're Yankee fans, so we're used to that. We're used to like the
Yeah, so they don't have to
tradition.
change
Yeah,
either. So
Yep.
like if it's not broken, don't fix it.
yep.
Like
Exactly.
that Celtics green is special.
That's why those are logos you see everywhere in the world. That because you can be good on that for the next 100 years. You're good on it the last 100 years.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, final question here. We steal this one for a bunch of guests. Originally, it was asked by Dory Harrison when we had Dory and Izzy on the podcast. So we're bringing it full circle with AU. Dory asked Izzy, if you were to put your music, listening device, I don't know why I just said that like I was 80 years old, your Spotify, your Apple Music, on shuffle, who are the four artists most likely to pop up?
Oh, today, Drake, Tate McRae, who else have I been listening to? Leon Thomas
Ooh.
and Justin Timberlake.
Classic. Love
Yeah,
it.
that's a good range too.
Honestly, in all honesty, it's Drake. Like that everybody else. But yeah,
There's hits for days. It's like
and I was
you
listening
never
to
run out.
one of his older albums when I was in college this morning on my way to the gym, and I was like, he's on a generational run. Made this album like 10 years ago, and it still hits crazy.
I appreciate that too, also. And I know that you've talked about this, but like in 2025, to be like, no, I rock with this and I don't need to get in the middle of any kind of mess. I like what I like.
Of this beef that no one else should also be concerned about because it has nothing to do with us.
Love it. Lexie, thank you so much for returning to the show, for taking the time to
Of
chat,
course. Of course.
especially with basketball on everywhere you turn.
Oh,
We had the best time. We had the best time, and we're looking forward to seeing you back playing in Seattle this year and having a healthy season. And we're excited to see you when you pop through New York at some point.
of course. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Talk soon.